Hello and welcome to another episode of Miles and Miles's basketball podcast, named TBD. We're just working on
figuring out some
things with the name.
Saw like 3 other glue guy podcasts.
Turns out we're not the only one. We're not the only glue guys in town. So for the time being, we're the Miles and Miles NBA podcast for the time being, named to be announced.
I think that's catchy enough.
Personally. I mean, it's been a crazy first season already. Look at all the drama we have going on. So,
just like the NBA.
Just like the NBA. I know last week we talked about some preseason or off-season moves, and we left off with half the NBA teams left with the Magic through the Wizards. But while that was going on, the NBA season also had its first week last week, so we're also going to be here and overreact to how that first week of the NBA season went.
We wouldn't be NBA podcasters if we didn't overreact after the first week.
Lots of overreactions already going on all over social media and the NBA fanscape, so lots to talk about this week. Where do you want to start, Miles?
I think we might as well just get into where we left off. We ended after the Orlando Magic, or we should start with the Orlando Magic?
Well, I think we're starting with Orlando, and I think that's actually a great team to start with because they're playing very well to start the NBA season.
And Paolo just had the NBA's first 50-point game about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, as of this recording, Paolo Banchero had, he scored 50-plus points, had the first 50-burger of the season.
37 in the first half.
Yeah, that's what it was, 37 at the half. Just unreal scoring from him. Paolo, he's taking that third-year leap that a lot of people were kind of expecting him to take. It already looks like that's well underway. Franz was sick today.
But he's been playing well.
Other than that, I was just gonna say.
Is that what happened? Well. He was sick today?
Yeah, he was before the game. He was game time decision with an illness, and then he played, and then I think they took him out in the second half. But he's been shooting much better. I mean, I know it's early, but he's shooting better.
Shot's a thing.
His scoring he's doing well scoring, playmaking, defense, the whole thing. So he looks really good. I really like how Suggs is doing in the starting lineup as the lead guard. I know you're a big Suggs guy. He's been playing well. He had a great game tonight as well.
His biggest thing is, like, if he doesn't get into foul trouble, he's who you want on the floor with Paolo. He's a perfect, catch and shoot guy, guard the best player, and he fits really well.
He's a great, complementary, like, defensive tall guard. And then another one, Anthony Black, has been playing pretty well off the bench.
Yeah, who you mentioned as, like, you expected him to take a step forward.
He's still not putting up a lot of statistical numbers, let's say, but he is, I think, he's showing a lot of floor general skills.
Looking a lot more comfortable out there.
Right. Like, he's definitely taken over that secondary off-the-bench ball role from...
Is Cole Anthony playing much at all?
Right. No, Cole Anthony's pretty much out of the rotation now. So Cole... Anthony Black, rather, he's kind of stepped into that off-the-bench role for a lead guard. I really like how he's playing. I mean, he still is not the best shooter or scorer, but I mean, like, dude, he's really young. He's still pretty raw. I mean, he's got, like, the whole baby face thing going on, so he's got plenty of time to grow, not only, into his body, but like grow as a player and everything like that. So I still have I think he's showing some things.
But in the offseason, I thought they made one of the biggest additions in KCP to be their starting shooting guard. KCP, a championship player. I remember 2 years ago when we had a podcast episode with our friend Gabe.
Yeah, that's right. The early days. Yeah.
I remember we talked about the Nuggets adding Bruce Brown and KCP, and I had a line calling them, like, those are two perfect pieces if you want to contend for a championship. And I think it was a perfect addition by Orlando. It makes sense for KCP. He goes to a team where, defense is that identity, and he is the three-point shooting. He's expected to, be that guy that is reliable and can always, like, be there for them.
Oh, yeah. As far as, like, fits go, I mean, Orlando basically needed a KCP on their team.
Yes,
they needed a guy who could defend on the perimeter, which they have a bunch of those guys, but they didn't really have any of them who could shoot. And that's exactly KCP's game.
Other than Suggs last year. Suggs last year, 39% three-point shooter.
It's now they got two of those.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Perfect.
Yeah. So it's perfect for them.
It's a lot along the line of the Boston Celtic mold that almost every team is doing nowadays, where you just have 5 guys that can shoot, 5 guys that can defend, and hope for the best. And it's a good meta. It's a good meta that it's a fun league.
I think the Magic are basically
more teams that do that.
Yeah, I think they're gonna copy the Celtics a lot, like you said. A lot of teams are, and I guess the thing with the Magic is like they're building that kind of personnel. It's just once that team really figures out how to score the basketball. I mean, I know Paolo just dropped 50 whatever points.
If Paolo takes that next step scoring wise, and he becomes a guy that's a perennial 25 plus point per game guy, he's going to be really good. And a lot of people have been calling him like he's looking like a mini LeBron out there.
Yeah, he
and
plays a lot
I
like
do
him.
see it. It's very, shoulder down. You can't really stop him. And then if you do give him some space, he's not afraid to shoot it. There was a couple moments like when he was last year and the year before where it seemed like his shot was a little shaky. But he looks confident.
Yeah, he's got shooting potential. Like, he's got a good-looking shot. He can shoot well from the free throw line.
And he's the forgotten number 1 pick of the last couple years, but he really shouldn't be.
I mean, when you compare it to, like, Wemby and Zion, he somehow got
He gets lost in the shuffle. Like, people kind of forget.
I would say. Yeah, Cade, too, a little bit. But
I think people are going to be talking about him, especially coming off this game tonight. Like, I want him to be in more mainstream discussions. I think he's ready for all that.
I think so, and I think a lot of people are going to be talking about the Orlando Magic. I think with the way things are looking, I mean, if we want to just overreact really quick, they look like a top half of the Eastern Conference team. I could see them for sure finishing as a top 4 team in the East.
They were in the bubble of Indiana.
I guess you could throw. I mean, I know New York. We kind of expected a little more from them, but
Cleveland,
you could throw the Cleveland's
Indiana,
a good shout.
Cleveland, Miami-ish.
Miami.
But they look like the best team out of those. Cleveland does look solid as well, but
I really like Cleveland right now.
Orlando just really they have a lot of momentum, and I think a lot of continuity. They have the same coach. They're not dealing with any new superstars like Indiana is still dealing with the Pascal addition and dealing with Nemhard's surgence. And it seems like they really have an identity, and they have their guy, they have their 2 option, they have great role players, and I'm really excited to watch them this year. Yeah, they are, and they're deep.
They're really deep. I mean, they got guys like, we're talking about Orlando, we got Jet Howard, who I think is a pretty underrated young talent in this league. He can shoot, he can score. They got
Mo Wagner.
Who's
super underrated. Wendell's playing really well to start the season.
Wendell is playing pretty well.
Out of nowhere, I was starting to lose faith. Started to throw him into my own little trade machine, maybe for a BI. But
I think he
might be the starting center.
Exactly.
That was the position of need since they got KCP. But if Wendell can do his thing, shoot confidently, play defense, that's all they need him to do out there.
I mean, we still got Jonathan Isaac too, of course.
So good.
And then the young guy Tristan da Silva, nice forward. I mean, who hasn't seen really any playing time, but that's the thing is they're just so stacked.
Yeah. He's next man up, and it's a good next man up. He's an older rookie who is known for he can do a little bit of everything, and that's a little bit what they need. They didn't need someone that they needed to start.
Right.
But it seems like, he was good in Summer League. And if they need him to, I think he could be a good piece for them.
And I think, too, with Franz now, see how long his illness lasts. I mean, these guys usually don't sit out that long with an illness. But, I mean, if he misses a game or two, that, like you said, next man up, that's where you're going to earn your minutes and spot in the rotation. So, yeah, definitely a team to keep your eye on. Very exciting. Quick question. Do you think this team is better than a healthy Sixers team and the Milwaukee Bucks?
No. I'm going to give Joel and Giannis and Dame and Paul George and Tyrese Maxey just the credit star-wise. Paolo might be, inching his way closer into some of those names. But even still, even if you do want to put him as high as like the highest person would have him, it's just a lot of talent to deal with. And we haven't seen Philly, and I'm really excited to see it because Tyrese looks even more confident with the ball, even without Joel and Paul George this year.
Playing a lot of minutes, but they have a lot of depth. I think he needs him too, though. You know, like,
yeah, they have a lot of depth that they haven't had in previous years. The Bucks don't look good right now.
Not right now. I mean, they lost to the Nets.
They lost to the Nets.
I remember texting.
They lost to the Bulls.
The Bulls are in that weird area though, where they're
not good.
They're not good, but they're not terrible either. Like, they're pretty much the most mediocre team in the NBA, which means they can kind of play both ways. Like, they still have Zach LaVine's playing well.
Yeah.
Kobe White's a good player. Mm-hmm. Your guy Giddey played really well.
Oh my guy.
Not your guy, but you know, we both expected him to do well there.
Sure. Patrick Williams isn't doing anything, but Matis is a young player that
he's shown some small flashes and small minutes. You know.
Vucevic doesn't look as bad as I expected him to be this year.
Lonzo looks great.
Lonzo looks really good.
He looks fantastic. Yeah.
I hope they take it easy with him, but he does look good. I don't think the Bulls are worth talking that much more about personally.
No, I like the main point of that is you are correct. The Bucks should have handled the Bulls.
Absolutely
correct. But you're right. The Bucks don't look very good.
They don't. They're still not doing enough Dame Giannis pick and roll action, 2-man game. It really seems like they're taking turns still. Mm-hmm. They don't really have an identity. Taurean Prince is playing 40 minutes, which is fine, but it's just like,
with injuries to Chris Middleton.
That's right. That's why. That makes sense. So I guess you can't really.
But is he going to be even the same player anymore? I mean, Chris Middleton is like what, 3-4 years removed from that finals run, and he's suffered, I feel like a injury every single year since then to his lower body, which, as you get older, that's just not.
I know he ended last year playing pretty well, considering how he was playing earlier in the league or earlier in the year.
Right.
But yeah, he definitely needs to be a good 3 option for them to be in that conversation.
Which I think is asking a lot at this point in his career.
Yeah. I think defensively is another worry of mine. Cause,
definitely.
Yeah. They don't really have anyone that's known for defense other than Giannis right now. Like, is Gary Trent doing anything?
But he's just,
he's going to keep going down.
Guy.
And off the bench, like, I don't know who they have.
I mean, Taurean is probably their best perimeter defender at this point. I mean, I know that, that's the problem too, is we talked about it earlier. Doc Rivers just doesn't play any of these young guys. Mm-hmm. So
but I don't know. Like, I actually.
Are they even going to have a chance?
I'm going to look at their box score. I haven't watched a full Milwaukee game, but I don't know who they're playing on their bench.
I guess that speaks to, one, they don't really have that deep of a bench, other than Bobby Portis, probably.
Who I've heard his name in trade rumors I mentioned last week. That the Kings were supposed to make a move, but they didn't.
Well, he's playing pretty well, I guess, because the Bucks really need him right now. They're just
Connaughton,
not
15
very
minutes.
Good. Pat Connaughton does not look good.
DeLon
right
Wright, 10 minutes.
I like him. I like DeLon.
They're kind of rolling on an 8-man rotation right now. And the 3 people off the bench are Bobby Portis, Connaughton, and DeLon Wright.
That's tough.
Taurean will go into that once Chris Middleton's out, but it's just not great. You're not really getting much of anything defensively, especially. Yeah. It's kind of old. It's kind of I'm not loving what I'm seeing from them. They didn't make many additions. Gary Trent was their big minimum signing.
I feel like, though, they replaced Malik Beasley with Gary Trent, which to me they're like the same player almost.
I'm not the Malik Beasley guy. I think he's better than Gary Trent.
He's definitely a better shooter. Yeah.
You don't think he's a better defender also?
I mean, to me, it's like they might as well be the same.
Sure.
If
that's your number one perimeter defender,
very great,
that's a problem.
So yeah, I mean, like moving on from the Bucks, because I mean they're just so disappointing and not
until
really
they
worth talking
go
about.
on a streak, I don't know if they're going to be worth talking about for a while now.
And I don't even think this is an overreaction either. They just don't look very good. Giannis challenged the team. He's like, we don't look good,
did.
you know. And I know there's all the Giannis rumors.
What was his exact quote?
I'll pull up the exact quote, but I know that
something about winning a ring in the next
there was that too, where he was like I don't know if someone asked him about it or if he just prompted it, but basically the gist of it was he was like, yeah, if we don't win a ring or a championship in the next couple years, I might look at free agency, which is, I mean, I do think with the way the Bucks have been making moves, I definitely think it's a valid thing to say. I mean, they've made it seems like an incorrect move at multiple recent turns. I mean, the Doc Rivers one being, in my opinion, the biggest one.
Yeah.
I think the Dame trade makes sense because
I do wish they gave Griffin more of a chance.
Probably should have given him more time. I definitely think they need to make some type of move because they can't just keep rolling out this old squad of veterans.
It's got to be a trade surrounding either Brooke or Bobby Portis as the main salary person, and then they do have some young players that they don't play that maybe there's a team that could be interested.
Yeah, but like who do they even have to trade? You know, like they traded all their picks, and now they're really stripped of young talent. And I mean, who wants a 38-year-old Brooke Lopez at this point?
I could see in an ideal world. We talked, I think last time about Washington having a perfect two-player for any contender to trade for. Contender in quotations because Bucks right now, who knows?
Aspirations to be a contender.
That Jonas and Malcolm Brogdon would do well, but I don't even know if they have anything that Washington would want, especially like those guys. Like, not that Jonas is deserves that much trade value, but Malcolm Brogdon's a good player that would
started
change
his career there.
Yeah, and he would change the the culture of that bench, at least give it some playmaking. He could start alongside Dame and be nice, be a good shooter off ball.
I think they got the right idea with Taurean Prince. I just think they need like two more Taurean Princes. They need two more
NBA players.
Yeah, like guys who are kind of big, who can kind of shoot and can kind of defend.
Yeah.
They need two more of those. And right now they just have like guards and old people. So
and Doc Rivers at the helm.
Doc Rivers. But I know one of the teams you like a lot, that I guess is on the flip side of this, a team that a lot of people have been high on, a team that looks, I think, pretty good. Former representative of the Western Conference in the finals last year, the Dallas Mavericks. They're next on our list. And I mean, their biggest move was getting Klay Thompson.
Absolutely.
And I guess they didn't really make much other moves.
They got Najee Marshall to sort of replace Derrick Jones Jr.,
who they did lose to the Clippers.
Yes. I know there were a lot of Mavs fans that were trying to be like, oh, Najee's going to be just as good as Derrick Jones Jr., which 3-4 games in isn't the case. But Najee's one of those players, like we talked about with the Bucks, that he's an NBA player. He can defend.
Yeah, the Bucks could use a Najee Harris.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of teams could, but
not really the Mavs.
The Mavs, it's a fine
nice
piece for them, but he's
have.
not going to start for them. He's a bench guy. He'll come in. I think PJ Washington has taken a little bit of a step. I really liked him last year when they got him.
Yeah, he's been nice.
He's their defensive anchor. At least like perimeter. He's their point of attack defender.
As a forward, because down low you have like the center duo centers, of Gafford and Lively.
I love that duo.
Love that they locked down Gafford there to kind of, and then to stagger that with Lively, who I know they're kind of taking this patient approach with the young Lively, but I mean, by the early looks of it, he's already a beast.
He's a beast.
Like I know it's early in this season, but he played well in the playoffs last year, including the finals. But I mean, he's just a monster right now.
Smart. strong, athletic young player that
he's super exciting to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, I'm sure you're just thrilled by what's going on right over there.
I watched their first game, and like the first shot Clay took was an air ball, and I was like, oh no, it's watch for Clay, but he turned it around.
No, yeah.
He looks good.
Luka did that thing where he started walking away before Clay even shot it, like Steph used to do. Yeah.
I was a little worried that Clay wouldn't have the same looks that he got with Steph, but he's getting different looks, and they're way better. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to move anymore. I was worried that if he was a standstill shooter, that might hurt him. I was a fool for thinking that. That's Klay Thompson, one of the best shooters in the world.
Right.
Luka Doncic, Kyrie takes up all the defensive pressure.
Yeah, playing Luka ball or Luka and Kyrie ball instead of the Warriors thing where you have to run around.
It's very different.
It's better for him now.
It is better
because he can, like you said, like he can't move like he used to, exactly. So he just can stand in the corner or on the wing and drop in, which he can still shoot. Turns out,
and he's shooting open shots. Because that's what everyone shoots next to Luka.
Definitely.
Luka's going to get defense to guard him. You can't guard Luka with one guy.
No.
And you can't really leave Kyrie. You can't leave Derek Lively or PJ Washington.
I know, it's a really nice luxury for Klay to have now, where it's like
really nice.
Finally wide open. Because in his last couple years in Golden State, it was like the him and Steph show on offense, and it's like, well, old injured Klay Thompson that's like not really gonna work.
Yeah.
To his strengths, at least at this stage in his career.
It was like both of them running off screens, and the defense is going to choose to guard Steph Curry, and he's just going to be put in a position to make a lot of shots. And he had a good year last year.
He did.
But he did have a couple games that really soured a lot of people on him.
Yeah, and I think too, we can talk more about that when we get to the Warriors, but I definitely think that was a split that was best for both parties.
Absolutely.
I guess, speaking on, we talked a little bit about the Nets on last week's episode when talking about guys we liked, and because you have Noah Clowney in our fantasy league, and I talked a bit about Jalen Wilson, who I liked, who played a lot in the first game but hasn't really played a lot. I guess really the only thing to talk about with the Nets, because I think this is going to be one of the worst teams in the league record wise. But Cam Thomas could be going for the scoring title.
Yeah.
He is, off to a really hot start.
Definitely someone I wish I believed in more. I definitely have a blind spot when it comes to players like that, with the pure scorer types.
He's a hooper, as the kids say.
Yeah,
he's got a bag.
He definitely has a bag. He takes a lot of shots, a lot of bad shots. In their first game, the announcer, the commentator, was constant. Every shot he took, oh, that's a bad shot.
He's that guy in the rec center who's on your pickup team, and he just jacks up a lot. He's good.
He's good.
But he's never going to pass the ball. He's just going to jack up a lot of shots. To be fair,
he's averaging 30 right now.
The Nets don't really have anyone else who can score like that. I love Dennis Schroeder, and he's playing really well, but that's it right now.
I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to average 30. I kind of had him more in the 25 range, but I think that might have been under. I just think the shots are there for him. He has the green light, and it's not going to matter. He's going to shoot the ball.
Oh, yeah, there's no stakes in any of the games they play.
Stakes.
I think the only guys, another guy that I can mention is Cam Johnson, who's more of a shooter, less of a go-to scorer or anything like that.
Not really a shot creator.
Right, exactly. He's a shot finisher. But I think those three guys, maybe Cam Thomas stays for Nets long-term. But, most of the guys on this team, the veterans at least, are just playing for their trade value.
Yeah.
You want to, if you care about any of these guys at all, you want to see guys like Dorian Finney-Smith and Dennis Schroeder and Cam Johnson getting shipped out of there for their career's sake. What do you think about Claxton, though? Is he a part of this team long-term, or is he someone who, like Gafford, could move to a more contending team and kind of find more of a home there?
Well, one of their only offseason moves that I'm thinking back on was giving him a pretty big extension. Extension that I didn't think he was going to get, because I thought he was that piece that a contending team would want to trade for. I I remember when the season ended last year, I thought that was the perfect guy for OKC to get, for that to be their center of the future next to Chet, or Memphis. I could see that because they had a lot of draft capital that they could trade for. But they signed him to an extension, and if I'm them, I would definitely keep him and let him continue to get better. He's still young.
Might as well.
It's not exactly the best situation for him specifically, being next to Ben Simmons, Clowney,
Ben Simmons.
Just a lot of guys that crowd the paint, and it's a lot of talk that these two players can't play together. It's like, well, they need to if we want to continue to see if Ben Simmons is an NBA player and see if Claxton is worth all this money and worth keeping around.
So what are your early impressions of Ben Simmons so far?
I mean,
this season
is he back in all-star form? No. I don't see much of a difference as far as what I saw at the beginning of last year or the year before. Beginning of last year, it was kind of the same idea where they said he was back. They said they were going to start him. They were going to start him in as many positions as he can play. And then it became clear, okay, he still is a player. He still can play defense. He can still pass. He can still rebound. But he does not look at the hoop.
No, he's not a scorer, and which is weird because, one of the things, because he's basically useless now, to me at least. I don't know. He's not really the defender at all he used to be, and he used to be a very, very good defender.
I just don't know where he fits on an NBA team.
He plays center now.
This is the perfect, chance for him to just put it all out there. Shoot. It doesn't matter. You're not expected to win games.
Go up with it.
I
don't get it either.
Yeah, it's just a little too often where he's wide open for a drive, and he's such an explosive, athletic guy, and it's just sad that he's not doing anything with it.
Yeah. So do you think it's a he doesn't care type thing, or he's checked out?
No, I think it's a mental thing.
Do you think
he just hasn't gotten over? It's been years.
One of the things that I've seen some people say online a couple times is that after this current contract, Ben Simmons probably retires from basketball, or at least just doesn't come back to the NBA.
I don't think that.
You think someone offers him a contract?
Team gives him a minimum, and then if he doesn't perform to a minimum, you can't do anything about that.
Kind of wild. This was a guy who I
don't know an example of a player that has close to a max contract. It was a max contract, but then just out of the NBA.
Leaves. Yeah.
I think there always people give him a shot. I know he's a special thing. You've never seen a drop off quite like him.
Case.
Yeah. But even still, I do think I can see the Lakers doing it, for example.
Oh God, I hope not.
But you can
as
see
a Lakers fan,
you can see it, right?
It's got Lakers written.
Get the Fresh Prince next
all
to the
over it. But good God, I hope not. It's like when the Lakers made that Westbrook trade, it just screams desperate almost.
Sure.
Which I guess if we want to talk about Westbrook, the Nuggets are next on our list.
Okay, yeah, I'm down to.
He hasn't really been as effective.
He's been bad.
He's been
really, really bad.
I'm a certified Russ hater, but even I am this is just sad to watch.
Yeah, I'm a Russ lover.
Yeah, I know. A good yin and yang here.
Yeah, and it's tough to watch. There's a lot of Russ hater Clipper fans, and a lot of what they said about him, which is, he only really would show his defense on nationally televised games, in fourth quarters, which, it's great. He does just look lost out there. And as much as I thought that being next to Jokic would open up things offensively for him, it's not.
Who I believe Jokic is the one who
wanted him.
Yeah, he wanted Russ. He wanted to play with Russ.
No, Russ is doing pretty much the same thing. He talked a lot preseason about they're gonna play me at my position. They believe in me. I'm gonna it's let Russ be Russ, which I love. I'm a big believer in let Russ be Russ. They're not. And
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't. I'm not saying they should. But he's doing the same thing. He's taking a lot of open threes and missing them.
Yeah, he's a bad shooter. He's always pretty much been a bad shooter. I mean, I know he shot like close to or above league average during his MVP season, but he's not a guy that teams are worried about if he's left wide open to shoot.
And he no longer has his mid-range.
Yeah, he can't shoot the mid-range. And the thing is what he built his career on with his explosive finishing, it's slipping away.
It is.
If not already slipped away.
It was always chaotic, but it was just so powerful that it didn't matter. And some of that power's gone. He's still an athletic specimen, but it's just not quite there.
It's not there. So yeah, it's bad for him, but the Nuggets in general.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of questions about Jamal Murray's health, but he's been pretty healthy.
He seems good.
And he's playing well.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like the weird preseason he had or when he was playing poorly during the Olympics, right?
And there was also questions about Christian Brown. Christian Brown, whether he could be the 5th starter and if it would work, being that he's not the greatest shooter.
I think he's playing awesome.
He's been playing really well, but it is true that he's not exactly spacing the floor.
No, but he does a lot of things. Like, he does a lot of the KCP things.
Yeah, the hustle parts.
But then he also does a lot of those, like, and this isn't just because of he's a white guy, but he does a lot of those Caruso things where he, like, you know, he's a guy who will get you rebounds, he'll get you steals, he'll get you blocks for a guard, he'll you know, give you assists.
There's a classic word that people use to describe a white guy like that. He can be crafty.
He's crafty, he's scrappy even.
He's scrappy for sure. He has some you know, shot creating ability. Like he can like put his shoulder down into people, and he's a good NBA player. The fit isn't ideal, and they definitely, you know, they've struggled to keep up with some teams offensively. They lost their first 2 games. They just got a win barely against. Who'd they just go against tonight?
I think it was Toronto.
Yes, Toronto, who was a must win if you're 0-2 and you're a contending team like the Nuggets should be.
Did you see that quote? Jokic was like, "We're all average shooters except for Jamal and Michael or whatever." Michael Porter Jr. He was referring to.
Who has not shot the ball well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. He's not even shooting well.
Yeah, and Jokic, he's had that quote, and then the next game had his career high in threes against the Clippers.
Also, Jokic is a good shooter. Like, let's be real.
Last year, that's the thing.
Well, look, there's always this thing that I've had with shooters where you can shoot statistically poorly, but still be a good shooter.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
He definitely is that. There's never a Jokic shot on any part of the floor that I don't like.
Oh, yeah. No, like, if Jokic is left open for 3, I'm holding my breath.
If Jokic is guarded for 3, I'm holding my breath.
Yeah, no, same.
It doesn't matter.
I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah. He did have, during his championship run, he shot like 60% from 3. That whole year, he was about league average. Last year, he wasn't, and he also wasn't taking a lot of threes, and that's clearly changed. He's taking a lot because they need him to without KCP, but he's not really getting the help he needs. Like, Jamal Murray's playing all right, but Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. haven't really put together. They haven't had a game that they look like the Nuggets. Like, they started their first game against OKC. First 6-7 minutes, it was like, oh, the Denver starting lineup that I've grown to fear. And like last year, I called their starting lineup like one of the best starting 5s I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they still had that. And then the non-Jokic minutes are abysmal.
They're really bad.
I think they're the worst team in the league if Jokic isn't on the floor.
Wow.
Like, that's what they look like. They're lost out there. They have nothing. Like Jamal Murray, he takes a lot of tough shots, and he doesn't take them to the mark that some other guys do. And it's nothing. There's nothing that I like enjoy watching if Jokic isn't on the floor. And then as soon as he is, everything opens up, everyone can get open shots, and like they have a chance to be in a game. But I think there was something like he was out for like 9 minutes in one of the games, and they were minus like 20. It's just like that can't happen, and for them to be successful.
Your quick overreaction: is this team are they no longer contenders?
I'm not ready to say that. Jokic is the best player in the world. and I think that alone puts them in contention. Especially like in the West, OKC's the favorite. I think we
or
agree Dallas, both of which, they haven't gone against Jokic like in a playoffs situation, and it really seems like if Jokic wants to, Jokic can win. And like Minnesota did a great job about like putting bodies on him, and those teams, they don't quite have that. Like they have like Lively and Gafford are a great duo, but they're not going to play them together to guard Jokic. One at a time, Jokic's going to cook them.
I think it's why that championship Lakers team was so effective, because they did have two bigs that they could put on Jokic at all times. Dwight Howard being the most effective on him at that time.
OKC, I could see being trouble for them, but
OKC looks really good.
Yeah.
We'll get to them in a sec. I guess we talked some about the Pacers. Do we want to keep talking about the Pacers? We kind of already mentioned Tyrese Halliburton
struggling a little
being
bit.
a little bit of having a slow start.
Did we talk about him?
We may have talked about that off air.
I think so.
Let's just talk about it here real quick. Tyrese Halliburton, prior to this episode, was struggling mightily to start the season. He did just have a phenomenal performance tonight. I think he had something like 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. 19 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. So nearly a triple-double. I'm hoping that that's the case moving forward.
The first couple games, he just wasn't getting the ball.
It was so weird to watch, because this was last year the fastest team in the NBA. They scored the most points, they had the most assists, everything. And to start, they were a slow team, playing all in the half court, none of it through Tyrese Halliburton. It was a bizarre thing to watch. Thankfully, it looks like they may have I'm just going to chalk it up to rust.
We would have a different impression if we filmed this last night than we do tonight.
Definitely.
I would definitely be ready to kind of overreact and be like, is Tyrese just not the same player that he was to start last year? Are they going to like kind of go with a team, like go out there and try to win as teams, not really playing Tyrese ball, just playing fast, letting him get the ball early.
Which is weird that they would change that philosophy. I mean, I don't think either of us have seen that that's going to be the case, because it looks like now the team's more or less looking to go back on track.
After being in the Eastern Conference
Exactly.
Finals.
Like, why would you change your offensive philosophy after? And that's the thing, is like that this was a team that wasn't even expected to go that far last year. So just keep building. Don't mess with something that's working.
I would kind of just chalk it up to maybe that they were just trying new things, trying to see if Nembhard was really ready, because they were playing through Nembhard quite a bit in the first couple games.
They were, and I mean that was a fit. I really like Nembhard, and I was really excited for him to step into that starting role, especially because he played really well in the playoffs. I don't think they're a good fit, though, to be honest with you. I think they need him to come off the bench, and I do also think he's in that Tyus Jones area of kind of too good to be a bench guy, but not quite good enough to be like confident in him as a starter.
You don't think he's the type of guy that could potentially get traded and then like blossom into a star?
No.
Okay. Because that is what some people say.
He has a lot of hype like that. Yeah. I don't see it for them.
Totally reasonable.
No, like I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
Like if he were to reach his absolute potential, maybe he's one of those Derek White type players. Where he's like, that do-it-all
best
guard.
player in the league.
I mean, that's the thing, is like, we love Derek White, but would we call him like he's a star, but like, is he like an all-star? No.
If Derek White is your best player on the floor,
right,
probably not a good team.
And that, like, we love Derek White. We love Derek White.
Although, I mean, the way he's been playing so far, maybe Derek White is that guy.
I know. That's the thing, is every time he just gets better. You know what I mean?
You can't doubt Derek White.
Derek White, one of the greatest players ever. I guess the other team on here next, we did basically an entire episode about the Pelicans.
Yeah.
Is there anything? I mean, let's talk some overreactions. I don't think we need to talk too much about their offseason, because we touched on all of it.
It's tough to talk about them because DeJounte's out.
Well, we can talk about Missy being pretty good.
That's what I was going to say. Is Missy looks like he could be the center of the now and future if they decide to go that way. I still really want to see them do Zion at the 5, which was proved to be their plan, at least going into the season.
Well,
if
was
everyone
that
was healthy.
or Herb Jones?
Well,
and we haven't seen
that's
either.
Same thing.
Right. More or less the same thing.
Yeah.
And we haven't really seen much of that. I mean,
they throw out lineups where they do that, and it hasn't been overly successful.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's not bad.
They're just too small to be doing that, I think.
They're a little small.
Yeah.
It's not going to work against the dominant bigs of the league.
No, I don't think so either. And I guess as of, because you're saying that DeJounte, you mentioned he got
5
hurt.
weeks.
He's out for 5 weeks, injury to his hand, and then Trey Murphy's still out, so we're gonna be seeing a lot of Jordan Hawkins,
who's great. I love Jordan Hawkins,
and I think he's a guy who, I mean, with the NBA being as like deep as it is and everything like that, Jordan Hawkins, he's like a young player that a lot of people I feel like have forgotten about in terms of like guys who are gonna like.
But he's
be on the
a
rise
little
and
too
good
good
keep an
for
eye
his
on.
role. Like last year, he started the season off really well because Trey Murphy was hurt last year as well.
Yes.
And he started off, they're like, he's the best shooter in that rookie class. He's going to be a great role player for this Pelicans team that needs shooting. And then as the year went on and they got healthier, he was out of the rotation.
Faded off. Right.
Yeah, but I would love to see him be more of a part of the rotation. But they have too many good players, especially with Grand Theft Auto, Jose Alvarado.
Love Jose.
I don't know who I'd rather put out there. I really like when Jose minutes. He does things that you can't find every day as far as like his hustle and defensive ability and playmate and shot creation. Jose Alvarado is really nice.
Really nice backup. You want to talk about Detroit?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
God, crazy team last year.
One of the worst teams of all time.
I hated watching the Pistons last year.
Yeah.
And a lot of that had to do with Monty Williams, the head coach last year, who was fired in the offseason.
Who didn't want to be there in the first place.
Didn't even want to be there, but Detroit threw him so much money that he had to say yes. He was terrible. I'm just going to put it lightly. This was a guy who started...
Killian Hayes.
Yeah, he started Killian Hayes over Jaden Ivey. Killian Hayes is not even in the league right now.
Yeah.
No team, like the Nets, who we think is the worst team in the NBA this year, doesn't even play. They didn't even want him. They cut him.
Yeah.
So Monty was a bit of a basketball terrorist last year. But to be fair, they also had a pretty... other than Cade, Jaden Ivey flashes and Duren flashes, they really didn't have any talent last year. And they had Asar Thompson.
Offensively,
right?
They didn't
Exactly.
Have anything. They last year, as bad as they were, they did do an okay job competing. They were in a lot of games. They weren't getting blown out as much as the Wizards second half of the year, for example.
Yeah. They're not blatantly, or they weren't blatantly tanking last year.
Last year, before the year started, people were expecting the Pistons to be not a good team, or even
maybe sniffing the play-in.
Yeah, exactly. And
where the Bulls are.
Yeah, they had players on the roster that people did believe in. Cade was ready to take the next step, and it just didn't work out. Probably Monty had some things to do with that.
A lot to do with that. I mean, and now with Monty out of there, Cade and Jaden Ivey, they look great. They added real NBA players to their roster. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr., he's kind of mediocre, but
he's streaky, and
he's a shooter, which this team didn't have.
If Tim Hardaway Jr. has a good game, which isn't going to be every game, but if he does have a good game, you have a solid chance of winning.
Yeah,
he is one of those players that can change games like that.
And probably their biggest addition would be Tobias Harris.
Yeah,
we'd say
they gave a decent amount of money to.
Who used to be a Piston.
Yeah.
Before, so it's his return to.
He's from Michigan. I think. No? Is he from Cali? Am I lying?
I have no idea where he's from. He went to college at Tennessee. I know that.
Am I lying?
I thought he was from New York. I'm going to be real. I thought he was from New York.
Interesting. Yeah, you're right.
Am I?
Oh, wait. No, I didn't see that. Where is he?
Everyone online is so mad right now. They know the answer. They're all big Tobias Harris fans.
Yeah, huge Tobias Harris fans.
But yeah, apart from and then they got Malik Beasley, who we mentioned earlier.
From New York.
He is from New York. Let's go, baby.
Malik Beasley.
Yeah, Malik Beasley.
Another shooter.
And then they had
Cade's playing with spacing for the first time in his career.
Exactly, which is huge, and that's also helping Jaden Ivey a lot. I mentioned on our first episode how people talked about their fit long term. I think if you do something like this and the way that they're both playing, especially Jaden Ivey, he's been kind of their biggest story right now of how well he's been playing. If you've been paying attention, though, I mean, I'm a huge Jaden Ivey fan. I've drafted him every year in fantasy. I've watched almost all of his games. He's always had this. He just didn't get any minutes last year for really no reason at all. Monty Williams just didn't like him for some reason. Maybe it's because he didn't want him to marry his daughter, like Killian Hayes. Did you hear that quote?
I did hear that.
Yeah. But no, Pistons, honestly, they look pretty good. They may not win that many games.
I was a little worried about Duren.
Oh, yeah.
I was starting to lose faith that he was the center of the future for this team.
It's because poor defense.
Poor defense, and he really doesn't do much outside of the paint. But I think it can work for now, and let him grow.
He's looking better on defense.
He does
He's not quite elite, but he looks better. I mean, the thing with him that's weird is there's no reason why he shouldn't be a good paint defender. He's bouncy. He's long. I mean, that just screams he should be a good defender. It's not like, one of these slow-footed, short-armed centers. Sure. He actually makes a lot of sense. So maybe he just grows into that. Maybe, again, we can blame Monty Williams.
Also, and just the lineups they were running out compared to this year with the spacing will help him.
Right.
Having Isaiah Stewart to back him up.
That's nice.
Instead of being out there with him,
that is going to be
stuff.
Nice.
And Paul Reed's on the team. He hasn't really played much.
B-ball Paul.
I'm a little
one of the legends of the game. Yeah.
Well, I thought he was going to play a little bit more, but I guess I'm wrong about that too. That's why I wouldn't make a good GM.
Yeah.
Yet.
Speaking of GM, one of our fellow GMs in our fantasy league texted in our chat a comment about how he didn't recognize in this specific lineup, not the starting lineup, none of the players on the floor for the Toronto Raptors, because this is a team that I guess last year they were somewhat in the hunt for the play-in.
They at least would talk that. They talk big game about wanting to be a playoff team, wanting to be a competitive team. And this year it's been the opposite.
Right. I do not think they are going to be very good this year in the final standings.
And neither do they, apparently.
This is a tough-looking team.
Jakob Poeltl came out and with the realest answer I've ever heard from a media day, where he was basically went on a little bit of a tangent being like, oh, we're not a competitive team. We're not expected to win anything. We're going to be playing our young guys, growing our young guys. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, my God.
This is a guy who's trying to get traded, I think. Yeah.
Not maybe, but he's also playing well.
He is playing well. Again, trade value.
Just a real, honest person from in media day, which is known for lying to fans.
Yeah, a lot of
hype up the excitement for the year to start.
Like Raptors fans, we're gonna grab the 8 seed.
I've never heard anything like that.
Well, maybe the Raptors fans want to hear that they're going for.
I think they love
a high draft pick rather than being the Bulls.
If I was a Raptors fan, I would have loved to hear that from Jakob.
Well, I think there's a good chance.
By the chance.
You've met Jakob.
I've met
Do you have any
Jakob.
Stories for us?
Not really, just a nice
Big
guy.
Pert.
I rebounded as he shot some free throws. Talked to him for a little bit. Yeah, decent free throw shooter. Okay. Better than JaVale.
Oh yeah. I mean, was he a bad free throw shooter in his career? I thought he was average for a center.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. JaVale liked to shoot. He just
that's right. I remember him.
JaVale, we would work on his shooting for him, and he would shoot NBA threes. And the farther you shoot, the bigger the rebounds. And I would be the only rebounder. And just every shot, I'm just running. It's 7 a.m. I'm just out of breath, dealing with JaVale.
I got one more in me.
JaVale's pissed. He wants the ball quick.
Should have ran faster, bro.
Yeah. Also, Pierre is what he liked to be called.
Is there a story behind that?
I think
or are we just gonna leave it?
I don't know if
mystery?
it's his nickname or if it's his nickname or if it's his middle name or something. I know he's a producer on some like rap songs, and he goes by Pierre.
Did Pierre ever? Because he's played for a lot of teams. Did he ever play for Houston?
I don't think so.
I don't think he was either.
Is that our next team?
That is our next team.
Perfect tangent.
Perfect perfect segue. This is another one of when you look at like the teams that were like, this is a deep team. This is a deep team. The NBA has so much depth. I think the Grizzlies and Rockets are two teams that like a lot of people are like this. Like at least in terms of young talent.
And the two teams that weren't in the play-in or playoffs in the Western Conference that people are either expecting to in Memphis or like expecting to like really have a chance in Houston.
Definitely. And I mean, last season saw the big breakout of their young center Şengün,
LP,
who ended the season. I think he broke his leg or something like that. So I was worried that was going to carry over, and it hasn't at all.
No.
He's looked fantastic. He's picked up right where he left off. So, I mean, I'm really happy to see that. I guess I shouldn't have been so worried about him.
Although he did struggle against in their last game they played.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, they just sat him during the fourth quarter against Wemby.
You know, I've seen Udoka do that sometimes.
Yeah, he loves doing that.
It's so weird, like to fire him up. I mean, the other thing too.
He was playing bad, to be fair.
Well, he's just.
And Ime is the type of coach that you're playing bad, he's going to take you out.
Yeah.
And they have enough depth to get away from
And
that.
he's a big defensive intensity guy. Where I guess if you could knock one thing on Şengün's game, it's his defense.
100%.
But I don't think he's like a terrible defender or anything like that. Helicopter. Sorry if you guys can hear that. It's just, Miles and I, we're on the run. But I mean,
Jalen Green
was
broke out the last
definitely
month of the NBA season last year. People were starting to say that
he was going to take a big leap this year. People thought.
And also before he broke out, he was the trade piece. He was like how the Rockets were gonna like package their picks that they have, trade him and get a star. And now it seems like he might be a good person to continue to build around with LP, with Amen, Freddie as more of the backbone vet to lead them.
Yeah, I think they got a nice roster. I think the Jabari. Yeah, but
are you a Jabari believer?
Yes and no. I think I think from where he was drafted, which are third overall now. I just don't think he's a star. I think people, including himself, who were thinking and hoping he would be kind of like this 3-and-D star player, just not there. Now, do I think he is a great role player? I do. I think I don't know. He needs to improve as a shooter, a scorer, and I think a rebounder for me to really get excited about him. I do think he's a good defender.
Yeah.
I do think he's good there.
I don't think he's great.
He's not great, but he's young, so
Sure.
I'll give him some time still. But yeah, man, I mean that he can't dribble still. He's not a playmaker at all, and he's really a guy who, like, for a third overall pick, like he doesn't create any offense. Like
considering like the 1 and 2 from that draft being Paolo and Chet, and that whole draft like time when people were like, oh, is he the 1 pick? Is he the 2 pick?
Yeah, people thought he was gonna be the 1 pick.
Yeah, up until like an hour before the draft.
And I think that would have been a disastrous pick for Orlando. I mean, they made a smash home run of a pick in Paolo.
Chet would also
would have been a fabulous pick, but I think Jabari Smith, like, good player, not going to be an all-star in this league, I think
that's good analysis.
I don't think that's a bad thing either. Like, if you get a quality role player, like,
he's a perfect mold of an NBA player, where the 4-5, that 4-5 like mix, where you can be a small ball 5 or like a stretch 4.
Right.
I love that type of player. It's just when I watch him, he's not doing enough. Where I'm like, oh, I should like try to give him the ball and see what he can do.
He's not aggressive on offense. He's a little
I
passive.
don't want him to be.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Especially
he's
next
not a good
to
shooter yet.
Alperen and Jalen Green, who are much more dynamic scorers on anywhere on the court. Jalen Green, like, an insane athlete when he gets downhill, and then can also shoot contested threes. And Alperen, just anywhere on the court. I like when he has the ball.
guess keeping it in the same. Well, I guess real quick, based off how they're playing, overreaction, playoffs.
The West is impossible to say.
The West is stacked. Play in.
Because I can't say. There's 12 teams in the West that are like in play-in contention.
Well, I guess
people were like
easier to
people
just
were
look at who
fading.
sucks.
People were fading Clippers. People were fading
Trailblazers.
Yeah, I don't know. The bad teams are Trailblazers, Spurs, and that's it.
Utah's really bad.
So then everyone else is a good team, and it's like who's not making the play-in between Rockets, Clippers, Lakers, Memphis.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean it's a good point.
I think it's impossible to tell now. Especially like Clippers are playing well, Lakers are playing well. Those are the two teams that if you ask a random person on the street who's out of that group, they're probably gonna pick one of those. Mm-hmm. So it's really I'm not ready to. I mean, for content, I would come up with a West standings eventually, maybe next week.
Oh sure.
But for now, like off the top of the head, I'm not ready to say that they're gonna make it or they won't, and I don't think we're gonna know till the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned in your analysis the Spurs, who conveniently is right next up on our list. They're probably gonna finish with one of the lower,
I
them
expect
or Portland.
Them to be Portland and Utah.
Oh, Utah and Portland, I think will be worse than the Spurs.
Yeah. I was hoping they would be better, at least at first watch of them.
Well, it's tough because Vassell is injured.
Wemby has struggled. Sohan's been great.
He's maybe been their best player.
Their most consistently having good games player. Yeah, definitely.
And Champagnie has been a nice little surprise. He's been playing very well. Maybe we question now what they do with Keldon Johnson.
Well, it's been the question. I was excited to see Keldon had put on some weight and maybe.
I thought it was he lost some weight.
He put on a hell of weight.
Interesting.
He's really big and bulky now. He's still not that good.
He can't shoot. He's just a hustle guy.
He's a hustle guy that wants to be a scorer.
Mm-hmm. And it's a good analysis.
It's not really what this team needs right now.
Yeah.
I could see them, if Champagnie continues to impress, maybe move Harrison Barnes to the bench.
Yeah, they should probably do that.
Hey, Harrison Barnes is what he's Black Falcon.
He's a good veteran.
He's a good NBA vet, you know.
But I think, long term, I kind of like him maybe being a part of that group. Mm-hmm. We'll see how good they look with Vassell coming back. Yeah. They still need their, I guess.
Stephon Castle has looked good.
Right.
Chris Paul
likely to be their point guard of the future, and then Chris Paul's gonna help them bridge that gap. Chris Paul's just old, but he's really their one to throw an entry pass to Wemby, which no one could do last year,
and no one is continuing to do other than CP to start the
year. So he has to do that, and he's there to help Castle develop into a point guard, which. I think if you're looking at that situation and how Chris Paul in his stint with OKC, he really did a lot with Shea there. Mm-hmm. Shea really blossomed into a superstar. He probably does that without Chris Paul, but I know he talks a lot about how much that year helped him a lot in terms of really popping off in his NBA career. So I think
the biggest difference between CP now and CP then is just his defense is really non-existent.
It's hard. It's because a lot of that too
I know Patrick Beverley called him a cone 2 years ago, but he's really looking like a cone these days.
Yeah, it's
said with all respect. I love
CP,
but
it's tough. Yeah, because when he was with the Thunder, he could kind of lead by example a little bit. Yeah. Watch me do this, and these young guys are gonna play hard defense now because I'm playing hard defense. But now that I wouldn't say washed. But
no, he's still
he's lost a lot of steps.
Yeah, and his biggest thing that he's lost, other than defense, is his shot. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's bricking, but they're just not going in, and they haven't gone in for a couple of years now.
I would say he's really only confident in his mid-range shot now, and even then,
it's constantly rolling out, and it's in this NBA, it's not the best shot.
Right. He's just picked up a lot of injuries too, which may have been a contributor to this.
Maybe.
I mean, he's a small player who, like, you know, historically small athletes rely a lot on, at least in terms of basketball, their athleticism in order to get by bigger, stronger guys. So when you have a guy like Chris Paul who, like, he has had so many injuries to his wrist, you know, to his lower body, eventually, it's just going to be hard for him to get that lift over other guys to shoot or even blow by them. So, but then again, that's not what he's here to do. He's really just there to throw passes.
Give the ball to Wemby.
Yeah. So they're bad. That's my Spurs analysis.
They're not good. Yeah, they're worse than I thought they were going to be. But again, we don't know if Vassell is ready to, you know, take a next step.
I mean, he's going to come back soon. I mean, as of this recording, he should be back. This or next week? Is it beginning of November?
Yeah, if they say beginning November, probably means a week into November. But yeah, I'm excited to see them at full strength.
And then a team that we have seen at full strength, surprisingly, who we never saw at full strength last year, was the Phoenix. Because we have seen a healthy Bradley Beal.
And he's been
seen a healthy Kevin Durant, a healthy Devin Booker. I guess Nurkic is healthy-ish. I mean, you know, this whole team, I guess, is healthy-ish. But
have they impressed you?
No, they have not.
They have not impressed me either.
This wasn't a team I was super high on coming in either. This is just a weird fit all around. I didn't like that Bradley Beal move then. I really don't like it now. I actually thought it would be fine, but I just don't think it's a good move for them at all.
Yeah. I was ready to believe in them this year with their additions, with their added depth.
It's hard to doubt Kevin Durant and Booker, you know.
And that's the thing is, like, that's what they relied on last year. It was just the greatness of KD and Book. And through the first couple games, that's all they really have.
That's all they got.
Beal's playing fine. Tyus Jones playing fine. Nurkic is playing fine. But they're winning and losing on based on KD and Book.
Yeah. But yeah, like they even like Tyus is playing pretty well. But like that fit with Beal, like Beal's not really a point guard. And then Booker and Beal aren't really forwards. I mean, we talked a lot about Ryan Dunn earlier in our season.
Yeah.
He hasn't played much, but I think this is a guy. I said it then, and I think now, overreaction. This is a guy who should start. Or at least Royce O'Neal or something like that. I think...
Are you saying Beal off the bench or Tyus off the bench?
I'm
Beal off the bench, I get.
Because like you said when we talked about the Pelicans, how CJ would be perfect off the bench, and I think they've been doing that.
Have they?
I
don't think so.
I think they will when...
I don't think so. They
when
will.
he comes back.
CJ's he's playing really well.
He needs to come up.
I know, but he's so good.
But they should be doing that with Beal, and I know that they won't
fair.
because of everything that goes on with the NBA contracts and all that shit. But I think they need a guy who they don't play any defense in Phoenix.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. I like the idea of starting Ryan Dunn or Royce O'Neal for defense. I just don't think they're gonna do it.
No, yeah, that's the thing is they won't do it, but they should.
I went to the Clippers-Suns opening night game when they went into OT. Clippers had that game won. Suns played a awful game. I was so unimpressed. And then KD just kind of made a couple tough shots, and Harden missed a free throw and turned the ball over a couple times. But
so I got two Suns questions for you.
Okay, yeah.
One is overreaction time, and two has been kind of simmering for a little bit. Does this team make the playoffs / play-in?
Yeah, that's another team that could fall out because of how good the West is. I'm not ready to overreact against them. Two, they are bringing in a point guard that's supposed to be different. Bradley Beal barely played last year. I'm going to give them 10, 15 games before I react and say, oh, this team's actually not good. And even if they are bad, KD and Book are not. As bad as the team might be, they're not. And with Budenholzer, something I have liked is that they are shooting more threes, especially those two.
They should be shooting more threes.
Yeah, they barely shot threes last year, even having Book and KD, to the point where people weren't even thinking that Book was a good three-point shooter anymore.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah.
Book's a great three-point shooter.
A great example of good shooter. Don't look at the percentages.
Yeah.
Like, you know that's a good shooter.
Yeah.
Two, I was going to say, do you think KD asks for a trade at any point?
They'd
Let's
have to
say
be
they're not doing so well. Yeah.
They would have to be under 500 for a good portion of the year. And even then, I don't know if he does it. Just because of, I don't think he actually cares, but I think he might care a little bit about how that is viewed in the grand scheme of his career and his legacy. I know that's like nonsense talk, and like, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, KD is KD, and he can be on any team he wants. But I don't know if he actually goes through and asks out, even if they're bad.
If you're OKC,
do you do the?
Do you consider that? Do you? Because you got everything. You can.
Do you trade J-Dub? No.
No, but do you trade some picks?
Yeah, I mean, I'd trade 7 picks.
Because I don't think the OKC Thunder need more young guys right now. They kind of just need a KD.
I don't know where they make up the salary, but would I trade 8 picks for KD right now? If I'm OKC, why not? OKC could do that with anyone. Would that be the
coolest thing ever if they brought back KD to win them the chip?
Something I wanted to say. While we're talking about Phoenix and talking about how I saw them opening night, a big thing that was talked about at the Intuit Dome, which, the Intuit Dome's cool. I'm a fan.
You like it?
Yeah, it's fine.
You don't love it?
It's good. I like it. It's better than La Crypto.
I don't know about all that, but continue.
But
it's also Staples Center. I call it by its real name.
The people were talking about the Wall.
That's where you sat, right?
I'm a part of the Wall, part of the seated section, but there's the standing only, like, college basketball type section where they're chanting the whole time. I was not in there. Okay. I got a call from a Clipper sales lady about it, but I wasn't ready for all that. Thank God I didn't. So everyone's been talking since the game against the Suns. KD missed 2 free throws in the fourth quarter. Book missed a free throw, and everyone's like, "It's the Wall, man!" And there was all these videos of like Clipper fans, Steve Ballmer doing chants. That shit is so lame. Like, watching them do it in the crowd, it's a bunch of NPCs chanting nonsense, and they're not even like good chants. Like, they're person's taking a free throw, they're chanting miss, miss, miss.
I mean, Miles, I don't know how to say this politely, but I mean, as a Lakers fan, this is how all of us view your team forever.
NPCs?
Like every one of your fans is a bunch of NPCs.
No, it's especially like, I don't know who they paid to be in that Wall. And
definitely plants. Yeah, they definitely got some
crazy plants. And I don't think it's cool. Like, people are hyping it up right now. Like, there's a lot of people on Twitter.
I honestly appreciate your honesty.
Known haters, like known Clipper haters, known haters of just like, that people are ready to hate anything new and like weird. I was expecting it to get hate, and everyone's like, "Oh, the Wall thing's kind of cool. The Wall thing's like one of the coolest things that a team has introduced recent." No, it isn't.
So you don't like the Wall, period.
The Wall is so lame.
Wow, bro, you're the first person I've ever said that.
I like the idea of like, bringing that college basketball energy, but these are just like random fans that are like.
I mean, it is funny that it's the Clippers of all teams that are doing this.
I'm glad people like it. I am. Do I get it? No, I don't at all.
Wow, but that's where you'll be sitting.
Yeah.
For the whole season.
I'm right behind them. Yeah, I am right behind them.
That was fun. We touched quickly on the Thunder. They're currently, I mean, it's super 1 weekend, but they're the best team in the West, just by the looks of it.
Yeah.
That big Caruso addition, even though he hasn't been starting like a lot of people thought, he's still Caruso. He's still awesome.
Doesn't need to. Yeah. Caruso has been that guy the last couple of years where you can't even play him 30 minutes because he does too much. It's not good for him.
No, literally, yeah, he'll probably get hurt. Running into the stands.
His 20 minutes are gonna be great 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think he's perfect for this team, and I think he likes it there. I mean, he was just totally wasted away in Chicago for a little bit.
Horrible. He got some clout.
Oh, dude! Sure. I mean, he was like Washington's best player for a minute. You know, it was bad over there. But no, they look great, and they don't even have Isaiah Hartenstein yet. He's still out. So
he's gonna be so good.
Yeah, God, this team is gonna get really, really good. And there's a player I want to shout out real quick. Cason Wallace, the second-year guard out of Kentucky, who's really he doesn't play a lot of minutes yet. I think he'll probably be. I think he could be the starting two on this team.
He could be.
You know, as soon as next year, if not by this playoffs. Great 3-and-D guy. Maybe the three's not quite there percentage-wise or efficiency-wise, but this guy can defend, okay? Great defender, great size. I really like him. Just wanted to shout him out because he's going to get overshadowed a lot by, Shea, obviously, who might be going for MVP.
There's lots of guys you can shout out on
J-Dub. Dort is still there as a great defender.
Dort's great.
Let's just talk really quickly about Chet being awesome player.
Yeah, I mentioned to you before we started filming, Chet is so good that, we talked before about the expectation that Chet would move down to the 4 and Hartenstein would be the 5, and that's kind of how they would deal with being a little bit undersized last year, and have Chet do less of the bodying with the other bigs.
Yeah,
but he's played so well in these first couple games that I wouldn't be surprised if they bring Hartenstein, even though they gave him all that money, off the bench and just rock out with Chet, because he's so amazing.
I watched him the other night, just body Clint Capella. A center,
bodied
big body.
Jokic, which no one does.
So I think Chet's just built different.
He is. I know we haven't gotten to giving our award predictions, but he might be my favorite for DPOY after I've seen
Defensive Player of the Year for the layman. I actually think that's a great shout. A lot of people had Wemby pegged for that one, but people forget Chet is he was Wemby before Wemby.
And Chet's going to be on the 1, 2, 3 seed in the West, which
that carry.
Usually,
I think the Defensive Player of the Year for the past few years has been on a good team.
At least a playoff team.
Right.
At least a play-in team.
I don't that's the thing is Wemby's not going to win enough games to get that.
As much of a favorite as Wemby is to win Defensive Player of the Year, I just simply don't know if they're going to give it to him if they're not in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's Chet. Chet's the early favorite. I agree with you there. He looks just stunning.
He looks amazing.
So one of the bigger teams, last week we talked about the Knicks, who we mentioned was one of the big teams that made splashy moves with the Cat trade. The other side of that is Minnesota, who acquired Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. Shaky start, I guess we could say. They don't look bad. Julius Randle actually looks good. But I think a lot of people were worried about the fit, and that I think has kind of been true. It's not the best fit. Gobert and Randall aren't really meshing as well as they should.
Yeah, I think people were hoping that Randall would be. He has been a better passer than Cat. He is a better passer than Cat. Yeah. But I think people were hoping that would open up Rudy a little bit more, but it hasn't at all.
Well, the problem is Randall's not the shooter that Cat is either.
No, he's
so
not.
That is going to affect spacing.
And he is a bit of a black hole. He's great. When he's playing well, he has been playing pretty well. It's fine. But he's going to have off games, and he doesn't exactly change up his game to adapt.
Which I think is interesting because I look at a young Anthony Edwards. He's still got a lot of time to grow into his game. But I kind of look at Edwards that way too, where he gets, kind of caught up in the moment sometimes and will just shoot a lot. When he feels hot, he's just going to keep shooting it, even if it's not going in. And, you know, I think Edwards has a lot of people were expecting him to, you know, be in MVP conversations and be like one of the new faces of the league, which, you know, he still, I think, has all that potential. But, I mean, with the early looks of it, he's still not quite there. I know he's struggling, so, I mean, he'll probably flash at some point.
They did just make some changes. They're another team I want to give some time before I
Yeah.
react. But... yeah,
this is definitely an overreaction. Yeah.
Dante's great.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if he starts some games. Mike Conley's looking a little old out there, as great as he is.
I think, for this team to truly thrive, they need more pieces that are going to fit together. They need more of They haven't
been playing Rob, right?
No, they haven't been playing Rob at all. I think, like, maybe a few minutes a game. And then, I mean, they still got Naz Reid, who's nice, so no issues there. But, yeah, I think if this team can gel to where all those big pieces fit and Edwards kind of takes another leap, I mean, he's great as is now. But I think, if this team wants to win a championship, you know, he's got to...
I just don't see them as having taken a step forward.
No, they've taken a step backward, I think.
And with all these other teams that have, like, you talk about the Mavs, OKC... they just look better than they were last year, and Minnesota doesn't.
They look worse. I mean, I agree with you.
And they don't even have the double big, like, if they do run into Jokic again, that was so successful.
And I mean, an underrated part too is they lost, you know, like, they used, what's his name, Slow-Mo in that role a lot last year, and they don't have him anymore because he's on Golden State. But
who do they have in that role now? It's Jingles?
Dude. No, Jingles is with the Magic.
No, he's not.
Is he with the Wolves now? I thought he was with the Magic.
I think he's on the Wolves now.
All right, look up both.
He's definitely not on the Magic.
Quick thing though, because the Minnesota was a top 3 team in the West last year. Who was he with?
Minnie just hasn't played.
Dang. Much. Okay, my bad, everybody. I missed out on my Joe Ingles news.
It's a big move. People were like, "Oh, he's gonna take the Kyle Anderson role."
I know. People were talking about that. I mean, this next team is tough to talk about because I don't know what direction they're quite going in. That's the Trailblazers.
You don't?
Well, I mean, I know that they're obviously tanking and going towards the future, but like, I'm out fully on Scoot Henderson.
Wow, that seems.
And
like
I know it's an overreaction.
Overreaction.
But yeah, man. I mean, I don't like small guards who can't shoot. I think they have no place in the league anymore, and that's not to hate. That's just like the way the game is going. I don't think he's good enough of a defender. I mean, I know he's still got plenty of time, but if you're gonna be that ineffective on offense, you really got to make up for it somewhere, and I just don't think he does anything well.
Sure.
And that's a problem.
I think with young guards, I think it's talked about a decent amount that every young guard, for the most part, struggles to shoot. And I know he struggled a lot.
But this is a guy who hasn't even shown shooting potential at any level.
Sure.
Like, he's just been known to be a poor shooter.
Yeah. But it is his second year. I'm ready to give him a little bit of slack still, being on a bad team. Still, like, he hasn't been given the keys to anything quite yet. So I'm not really...
I wouldn't give this guy the keys, to be honest with you. Like, I will say...
If you're Portland, do you sell Anthony, or do you try to, continue building?
Have to.
You think he's just a little too old for what they have to, continue to go back and continue to get the youth up?
He's not a part of their timeline, and also if I'm Portland, I don't want that a part of my timeline. Like, I think he's a nice player.
He's a tough fit.
I don't want him in my core.
He's an undersized guard who's not a great defender. He's a great scorer.
But there's so many of those now.
And he's not a point. He's not a point guard.
He's not a playmaker. He can dribble, but he's not going to distribute the ball effectively like Scoot. We thought he could. and maybe he is. But
I would never have Anthony as my point guard.
No, I wouldn't.
And then
either.
as a 2 guard, it's just like, what are we doing
right.
at that point? I could see him like
this is a great
next to
man.
a Ben Simmons, like in an ideal world where you have like a huge point guard, and then Anthony's your smallest guard.
Sure.
Like you're in a CJ type role, even though he's on the Blazers. And it does
yeah,
where he did have
there.
that
Yeah.
with Dame for a year. But that is kind of what he's probably going to be like.
And I think that's a part of like the curious direction because they have him, they have Jeremy Grant, who's actually playing amazing right now, and DeAndre Ayton, who I think all three of these guys
are good trade pieces.
But I thought they would have traded one or all three of them last year, and they didn't. And then they go ahead and like put all this stock into literally their replacements. And they drafted Donovan Clingan.
Yeah.
They're investing more into Scoot. They're starting Tumani Kamara now.
And they traded 2 first-round picks for Denny, which is not what you do
let's
as
talk
a
about
rebuilding team.
Yeah, honestly, like weird move in terms of
super weird
giving up picks. But I will say Denny is a great player.
He is,
and he's a good fit there. But I agree with you.
I think it's crazy to trade away picks like that.
Yeah.
For a rebuilding team.
I mean, unless they really think that Denny's going to become a star there, or at least like a star role player there.
Maybe they were. Maybe one of the first-round picks was a fake first-round pick.
Oh yeah, like a late first.
Yeah,
or basically
or like a
protected one,
a random protected one. But even still, I didn't get it when they first did it. But I love Tumani Kamara.
I love Tumani Kamara.
Yeah, like. Jeremy Grant's playing really good. Can't wait till he's gone so that Tumani gets some play.
There, yeah.
He's a fantastic defender.
Oh, amazing.
And I think there's
he's a good shooter now.
Yeah, I think there's some offensive game that people can work with.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of like a Robert Covington kind of player. Yeah.
He's bigger though.
Big.
Right?
No, well, it's weird because he's bigger.
Not longer.
But not longer. But he's bigger, stronger. But they have him at the 2 right now. But he can play 2 through 4.
Have they been? I don't watch Portland.
That's the thing. It's like I wouldn't blame anyone for not watching Portland. I only know because of fantasy and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, they have been playing Scoot off the bench and starting Kamara in his place.
Interesting.
Which I know a lot of people hate on Chauncey Billups. I actually think that's a good coaching move.
People do hate Chauncey.
Yeah.
The other thing
bad.
that they have is one is Time Lord Robert Williams is injured.
Oh yeah, God.
But he's expected to come back anytime now.
Do you think he comes back? I personally think he's just done. He's.
I hope he does.
He's damaged goods.
Yeah, but the other thing is that they were very high and they drafted Donovan Clingan really early, and like he seems really good.
He's a permanent monster right now. What, didn't he get like 20 rebounds in a game already?
Well, that was preseason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still. That's crazy.
I think it was in like 20 minutes too.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
He looks really, really nice. Defensively, he's shooting a little bit more.
Yeah, he hit
I think he's certainly someone that can be the 5 of the future for this team.
Oh, I think without a doubt.
And I don't know who wants Aiden, and Aiden's someone who I was very anti last year, just because when I had him on my fantasy team, which is never gonna help someone's perspective.
Right.
But he was also bad and just looked like he didn't know how to play basketball half the time.
Up until the end when he randomly started getting really good.
And also, in the offseason, I've seen more videos on him. He really seems like such a nice guy.
I just don't think he likes basketball.
He might not like basketball.
As much of a cliche as that is, I just don't think he likes it.
I think he's a really nice guy. He might not like basketball.
He just doesn't care. Yeah.
But he's been playing all right.
Yeah. Is there any other
I got nothing more about
big news you want to put on the Blazers? Any other topics to touch on with Portland? That might be the last time we talk about the Portland Trailblazers.
Unless they trade one of those guys that we mentioned.
Yeah, right, exactly.
There's going to be a few teams like that we're probably not going to mention unless they make some sort of move.
Well, I was just going to say, because the last 2 teams we have are the Warriors, who are a very interesting team to talk about, and the Wizards, who are not a very interesting team to talk about. So I say we talk about the Wizards first.
Why not?
I hate this team. But I really like the potential timeline they're about to start with, they just got to get rid of Poole and Kuzma, the two maybe dumbest players in the NBA.
We're not Poole believers here.
I'm not going to the Poole party. He did play really well the other night, though.
I like Jordan Poole on this team. I hate Kuzma.
Jordan Poole on this team.
I hate Kuzma much more than I hate Poole on this team.
I think they got to ship both of those diseases out of there.
I think Kuzma's on a whole another level of just bad for this team, toxic when he's on the court, like horrible shots. Like Poole takes bad shots, but he also won't when he doesn't need to.
So it's like
he knows his role a lot better. Kuzma is actively playing bad basketball. Poole is trying his hardest out there. Kuzma is not. And I don't want to come off as a Kuz hater because I think
I'm a big Kuz hater.
I am a Kuz hater.
Go right ahead. Yeah.
I don't want to come off too much as a hater because I do think there's roles in the league for him where he would thrive. This is not one of them. He's not a good one option, and it's really disgusting to watch.
It's terrible to watch. I mean, Poole, he is having a better season than he was last year when he was just dreadful.
He was good the second half.
But they were playing him off the bench, though, right?
Well, when they put him off the bench, he was good, and then they put him back as a starter.
Because now he's the starting point guard for them, which is I looked at their team; they literally have no other point guard on the Bub, who they're starting next.
They are starting. I know I was gonna say probably the last thing we'll say about them is starting Bub and Sar. I love for them.
And
Bilal looks really good.
Coulibaly looks really good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Keyshawn
George, I like him too.
Also looks good.
He's a good all-around player. So yeah, that's the thing is they got all these nice pieces that if they get off these stupid players,
I'm happy keeping Poole. Get rid of Kuz, trade Jonas and Malcolm for picks from a contending team.
Oh, yeah, they have Malcolm Brogdon. God, he hasn't played because he's been hurt, but what are they doing?
I didn't mind that. That made sense for them. Another thing that made sense that they got was Sadiq Bey, who's going to be out for probably the whole year. It makes sense for them to just get him for nothing.
I guess I'm looking at it from the player's perspective.
No, I'm looking at it from front office.
Yeah, because it does make sense to offload salary, acquire picks, but God, if I'm any of these guys, I'm I just made it to basketball hell, and I'm
they're
get
trying.
me out of here.
I was really nervous that they were going to start Jonas and Sar, but I'm really happy that they're just starting Sar and letting him just be bad. And he's not even playing that bad, but
you have to
let
grow.
him struggle.
Yeah, exactly.
Not next to Jonas.
Welcome to the NBA.
Hell yeah.
So last but not least, because I made it so, we're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors. I think they actually, they weren't very good last year. They weren't really much to talk about. Up until, though, I've been following them in the preseason and the regular season. This is a very interesting team, in my opinion.
Very different than it was last year.
Super deep team.
Yeah.
Extreme, too deep. I actually think of all the teams we've talked about, this is the deepest team in the NBA, in my opinion.
As far as the number of good players on the roster, sure.
One thing I guess I could say is is their
depth players better than other teams' depth players? I don't think so.
Maybe. I would take the Warriors' third string over the Grizzlies' third string.
Their third string. They have more good players than any other team.
I think their problem is they have one great player.
Yeah,
and that's
their starting lineup is a mess right now, and a big part of that is Kuminga has been really struggling.
Well, he's been struggling.
Lost on offense, lost on defense. They're playing him at the 3, which is not his position.
I think a lot of it has to do with the contract situation that's going on with him. I think he's distracted by that, and he's been put under a lot of pressure now to perform to that level, and he's not.
Speaking out of my ass a little bit, I'm sure him and Steve Kerr have some issues
they
also.
They definitely have issues. Yeah, no,
I'm sure Steve Kerr, if it was his choice, wouldn't start him. But they do kind of have to because of how he played last year.
But they're not starting him.
They're starting him. He's just playing nothing.
Are they?
Maybe they changed it recently.
I thought
he started their first couple games.
My belief was that it's Steph, Melton, Wiggins, Draymond, and
maybe they changed
center.
it. Maybe they changed it because the first couple games was Steph, Wiggins, Kuminga, Draymond, Trace.
Yeah, but Kuminga's not a good fit next to them.
No.
Wiggins is still good.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, he is. He's been playing really well. I want them to start Curry, Pod.
Me too.
Wiggins, Draymond, Trace. Kuminga off the bench would probably be really nice.
Or just trade him.
I mean, they should have traded him for Paul George.
I also really like Moody and kind of wanted him to get minutes, and he's still not getting minutes.
Even after they extended him. Buddy Hield's he's had 2 good games, 1 bad game.
Yeah.
Which is, better than you expect.
And then they have Kyle Anderson, who
hasn't done much, but he's solid.
But that's the thing is, he's their 10th guy. That's a really solid guy to have at the way end of your bench.
Looney is great.
Dude, he put up a double-double in 15 minutes.
Yeah, he had a good game against
the
the Clippers.
He's really good. And then Gary Payton too is still on the roster. I mean, they got guys, but they're too deep because it's gonna get messier in the lineup.
They're playing a 12-man lineup, I think, and it's not garbage time players. They have 12 active players.
They have good players who on most teams could get at least 20 minutes a night.
For sure.
At least, if not be starters there. But it's going to get weirder because Steph got hurt the other night, twisted his ankle, so he's going to be out probably for a week is my guess. This is just my guess.
I've heard people say 2 weeks.
2 weeks, I mean, that would be awful for the league. But then Melton popped up on the injury report with back issues, which plagued him all of last season. So I wonder what's going to happen there. Maybe they finally start Pajemski, which I've been banging the table for. I think he's way too good to just be this team's backup point guard.
He is, especially all the hype that was around him. All they were talking about, him shooting 8 threes a game.
Yeah, that has not happened at all.
I'm ready to see it.
I'm ready to see it, too. I want him to. I think he's way too talented to just be I think it's weird, too, because, it's they needed a Klay Thompson replacement, and they've just we'll throw D'Anthony Melton out there. And it's I understand the idea. A defensive guard next to Steph Curry makes so much sense. Come on, man. That's just, I just think there are more, to me at least, there are more talented players with higher upside and more ability to win you basketball games than D'Anthony Melton as your starting 2 guard. And also, he's getting a lot of minutes.
He is.
At least spread those minutes out if you want to start Melton. But yeah, I think Moody is way too good to be getting under 10 minutes a game. And I think Pods is way too good to just be a backup point guard to Steph Curry. I think he should be starting next to him.
For sure.
Like you said, yeah.
I don't know if this is the last thing you want to talk about. I would love to talk about our 2 teams.
In fantasy?
No.
Lakers, Clippers.
Lakers and Clippers.
Yeah, touch on them real quick.
They're the two of the most interesting teams, at least of the first week.
Yeah.
Lakers look like a completely new team
awesome,
with the same players, but everyone's moving around.
We're all ready to build statues for JJ Redick, man.
Yeah.
It's been a very exciting time to be a Lakers fan.
Yeah, please.
Let me take it away real quick. It's been awesome. We're still undefeated as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
At least as of this recording, because they're playing a game right now. So who knows? Maybe they win, maybe they lose. But they look great. They're running plays. The rotations are looking crisp. JJ Redick, it looks passionate on the bench, which is huge. I mean, we haven't had a coach show emotion maybe ever since Pat Riley. I mean, God, it's been so long. It finally feels
they have out of timeout plays, out of quarter plays.
And you listen to this dude talk, and I mean, obviously JJ Redick knows basketball, but I mean, look, man, it's the little things. We had a few coaches who just felt like they didn't know what they were talking about, and this included my man Byron Scott. So it was no guarantee, but I'm very encouraged by what I'm seeing. It looks like we may finally have a long-term fit at head coach.
Yeah. AD's
playing like an MVP, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. LeBron finally looks like he can
take a step back.
Yeah, like he can just. And that's the thing is, people are like, "Oh my God, has LeBron finally taken a step back?" Are we worried? The Lakers can win games without him.
And he already proved that he doesn't have to. He can go off. He did have that 15-point by himself
and
run.
Plus, he was the best player during the Olympics. So, he still has shown he's that guy.
Absolutely.
He just doesn't have to be. And that's
which is
great.
Ideal. It's where you want to be if you're a 40-year-old LeBron. It's where you want to be if you're a fan of the Lakers. Winning with LeBron not playing 40 minutes a game is really as good as it can get.
2 quick overreactions.
Go for it.
Dalton Connect is, I mean, I don't know how much of an overreaction this is, but dude is legit.
He is.
I think he's going to be a great player in time. I just think the Lakers, ironically, are deep at that spot. You know, like I think you mentioned on our last or 2 episodes ago that he could break into that 6-man role for the Lakers.
Sure.
I think that for sure happens this season. And it needs to happen sooner. I mean, I think he's
they
just
don't really have anyone else to be that role.
I guess it might be Rui when...
That's true.
When, what's his name, Vanderbilt comes back. But yeah, no, they need someone off the bench who can just score at will, and I think that's going to be Dalton Connect. I know that they've been trying to make this Max Christie thing work, and I think it's time to just give Dalton Connect all the minutes, I think. I mean, there's still a place for Max Christie as like a perimeter defender, but I think if and I think they were at a certain point, the front office looking at Christie as like the next guard for the Lakers, you know, to slide into that 2-guard slot, to maybe be a 3-and-D shooter scorer.
It's Connect.
It's Connect.
Yeah.
It's Connect. I even think his defense underrated too.
For sure.
My second quick overreaction is Austin Reeves is going to make the All-Star team this year.
That's a crazy overreaction.
I think he's playing amazing
that ties into
basketball.
my overreaction. My overreaction was just going to be that I had Austin Reeves and D'Lo at kind of the same level last year, where, you know, they were kind of inconsistent, both really talented and like would have games where they can be the best player on the floor. But Austin Reeves really looks like that.
He's looking like the third star.
He's looking like
that we've been looking for.
Yeah,
you know?
I think All-Star is a stretch, especially in the West. But
you got to remember, Laker Nation, man, we vote in hives.
That's true.
You know?
That's true. He'd have to start.
He'd have to start. Which, I mean, hey, if the K-pop fans can get Wiggins to start in the All-Star game, surely we can get Reeves to start in the All-Star game.
That's fair.
Okay, but Clippers. Let's talk about the Clippers. I think I talked enough about the Lakers. They look awesome. Let's talk about your Clips.
Clippers are interesting. I think I mentioned either last week or maybe our first week that I was confident that this team was going to be a very good defensive team, and we absolutely are.
Yeah, better than I thought.
So happy to see it.
And that's without Kawhi Leonard.
Without Kawhi Leonard, Chris Dunn is... It's so nice.
I think he should be starting.
He should be starting. Yeah. Him and Harden is a great backcourt. Derek Jones Jr. is playing fantastic. And everyone just seems like they know their role.
Talk about Zoo. Come on, let's talk about Zoo. This is Wilt Chamberlain.
That was what I was going to say. Norman, maybe he was right that it was an addition by subtraction when we lost Paul George, because he looks really good, and him and Harden have a really good balance. They don't really like do things together, but they give each other breaks.
They're kind of like in sync.
Yeah. And it's been really fun to watch. There's definitely some lacks offensively, but a big part of that is our bench mob. We keep on giving the ball to KPJ, who I don't want to talk about, but I have to if he's getting 10 shots a game and shooting 1 for 10.
I think Chris Dunn playing so well should hopefully just get rid of all the KPJ minutes.
Nonsense. I'd rather play Bones. I think Bones Bones
he hasn't
takes
played at all,
bad shots. No.
Yeah.
KPJ is doing the Bones thing where he takes bad shots and misses them, but even worse.
And I mean, I don't know Bones Highland personally, but I can only assume he's a better young man in the locker room than Mr. Porter Jr. is.
I would say so.
Yeah, probably.
And then there's the duo. Then
let's talk about the big show.
Then there's our second best player, James Harden, who's he's playing really well as our second option on offense. He actually hasn't, scoring wise, I haven't been too impressed with him.
I kind of expected him to average like 18 this season.
Well,
you were expecting like 20 plus.
I was expecting 20 plus. He's not shooting very efficiently right now. He's getting a lot of shots, but it's been weird. His handle's been a little loose sometimes, and like it's been a little weird to watch. But overall, he's playing pretty well, and he's our point guard, so we don't.
It's also early. He's a slow starter historically. Yeah.
But Zubac is.
Yeah, let's talk about Zoo. MVP of the league right now.
I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Former Laker, so I still have a lot of love for him, but goddamn.
Yeah, like I knew he was great. I knew going into this year that he was going to have a bigger role, and I thought that would mean he was going to average 15 and 10. But right now
20 and 12 or 25
right now
and 12.
He's averaging 23 and 12.
Ridiculous. So crazy.
It's so crazy.
Does he average any stocks or?
I'm sure he gets a block. He is advanced stats wise. I think he was the best rim protector in the league last year.
I mean, it makes sense. He's enormous. He's like enormous. A mountain of a man.
Yeah, and he's smart, and his hands have only gotten better.
I've always thought
his positioning is great.
Mm-hmm. Elite pick and roll guy.
And there's a guy, I mentioned him on our first episode, Jokic Joestar. He's a guy on TikTok and Twitter, and he just started his own podcast called State of the League. It's great stuff.
You're plugging someone else's podcast.
He's great. I would love to. But he filmed this TikTok where he goes, Zubac was made in a lab to play with old Harden and just take all the pressure off. Harden can just lob it up because forever the biggest problem with Zoo was his hands. Mm-hmm. But it was the fact that whenever he was passed the ball, he would be passed to it really low because we never really had a good point guard, good distributor.
Yeah, ever with the Zoo.
And now Harden, all he does is lob it up, and all Zoo has to catch it and do a little hook shot. He shoots 70% on hook shots, best hook shot player since Kareem.
Well, one of the things that I think, because Zubac, he like you said, he hasn't played with a player like Harden.
Yeah.
Where before it was like Patrick Beverly and Paul George. Mm-hmm. I mean, these guys aren't really passers,
not at all.
You know. But there was a flash, and it was very small, and I feel like not a lot of people remember this, when he was with the Lakers, and he had a really nice two-man game with LeBron. Mm-hmm. I went to the game on Christmas against the Grizzlies, and Zubac, I think, was the Lakers. I mean, I could be totally wrong about this, but he was one of their highest scorers.
I believe it.
He had an incredible game, I thought.
I mean, LeBron, Harden,
maybe it
Luka,
wasn't Christmas. It was
probably
like
the best
day
guys to pair
Christmas.
a center like him with.
Right. It was like the Grizzlies game right before Christmas, whatever, LeBron's first year, 2018, 19, whatever, fuck. But he had a really nice two-man game with Zoo. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is going to be part of our thing going forward. I'm going to be watching pick and rolls with the Zoo forever. And then he gets traded to the Clippers. And he doesn't get that many, he gets a lot of minutes. He starts.
He's been our starter for the last 5 years. He's played 25 minutes. He gets a couple touches a game. He was back in the day, he'd get a couple touches a game.
Yeah.
And he would do well with those touches. He was a very efficient player, efficient post scorer. And people have been calling for the last couple years, but I wonder what would happen if we gave him the ball a little.
Our friend group has asked that a lot. Yeah.
Not even, but people on Twitter will be like Zubac, when he gets the ball, he does good things with it. He just doesn't get it often. And his biggest downside is when he's not getting the ball, he's not doing a whole lot on offense, especially. He's setting good screens, but that's about it. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden, him being our number one option, he's getting plays called for him. It's super effective. Everyone gets open because you have to help on him. And another thing the guy I was talking about said about him is he the second, third best post scorer in the league right now?
Probably. There aren't that many good post scorers.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Sabonis is
Jokic,
up there.
Sabonis, Alperen, Joel.
He's a good post
but
scorer.
Zoo, at least efficiency wise and just his size and strength, it puts him on another level. And it's been, I don't expect him to average 22 and 12 for the rest of the year. I don't think 18, 19, and 11 is out of the question for him.
I totally think he could do that. Yeah.
If he does that and we're a playoff team, I'm in it for Zoo for MIP for sure.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, he's definitely on the watch list for it now. But I think
that's my ideal type of MIP too.
Yes, a real
his role changed. He's been in the league for a while, and now he's given the chance to, and he's doing it all.
Yeah, and he's really gotten a chance, like we've been talking about, with an actual playmaker and Harden who can set him up and stuff. So part of me just wonders, like, if he had been given this opportunity earlier in his career, you know, he probably could have been doing this earlier, I think.
Yeah, shout out
Zoo. So that's what we'll end it with, Zoo. You know,
that's the right place to end it for
you.
For the first week of NBA games out of the way. I think that is the perfect way to end things, with a Zoo rant.
So, yeah, that'll be the end of it with Zoo. I'm going to go check the Lakers score. Hopefully they win. If they lose, you know, I'm going to blame you for being a bad omen. Thank you. No, you lead us out, Miles.
Okay.
You lead us out.
Thank you all for watching. Third episode of the Miles and Miles NBA podcast. A name to be announced. To
be determined.
As they say,
yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much.
And if you have an idea of names, please feel free to comment on this video, or if you're listening at home, you can email us at oh god, I'm gonna have to change the email. No. You can email us at glueguys.mm@gmail.com. I'm gonna have to change that, but email us there and tell us what names you like, and we'll change the name of this show. But yeah, look out for that. Look out for the NBA. Anything else you want to say?
All good. See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.